The terrible truth of monster parents. The case of Paula Salazar. One tragic illustration of the terrible effects that so-called monster parents may have on their children's life is the case of Paula Salazar. The tragic tale of a little girl who is subjected to cruelty, neglect, and abuse at the hands of those who should have been her guardians, the same people who brought her into the world, is explored in this true crime documentary. In addition to exposing the horrific consequences of parental abuse, the case also demonstrates the shortcomings of a system that failed to intervene in time to save her despite warnings and indicators. This film will go over Paula Salazar's tragic life, the atrocities she experienced, the sinister truth about her parents, and the court cases that followed the revelation of the terrible reality she had to live with. The narrative of Paula Salazar starts in a small neighborhood where her family seemed to be just like any other. Despite their public displays of love, her parents supposedly had a darker side. Paula was exposed to unspeakable tragedies in their home, a far cry from the dreamy childhood most kids imagine. Her parents, who were meant to love, care for, and protect her, instead became the ones who abused her physically and emotionally, leaving scars that no kid should ever have to endure. When Paula's neighbors and instructors began to notice something was wrong, the first warning signs of trouble emerged. Once gregarious and happy, Paula had now quiet, reserved, and notably undernourished. A thin and emaciated figure replaced her once lively demeanor, and there were even allegations that she was being kept out of school. However, nobody was able to piece together the whole picture of what was going on inside the Salazar residence, in spite of these warning signs. Paula's parents were very adept at concealing the abuse. They presented themselves as respectable locals who had apparently typical lives. Since Paula's parents were well-respected professionals in the eyes of the public, there was no reason to believe that something was seriously amiss. From the interior of their house, however, Paula's life was a living hell. She endured malnutrition, emotional manipulation, and physical abuse. She was frequently told by her parents that she was useless, a burden, and that no one would ever love her as much as they did. Even though they seemed like nasty taunts, these statements caused Paula continual agony and further distanced her from the outside world. The situation deteriorated over time, with Paula growing more and more isolated. Her parents prevented her from playing outside or interacting with other people, keeping her cooped up within their house for long stretches of time. The lack of activity surrounding the house started to be noticed by the neighbors. Paula was hardly seen, and when she was frequently unkempt and nervous. Some others tried to contact out, offering aid, but Paula's parents would divert the concern, making excuses or brushing off the questions with manufactured stories about their family dynamics. The abuse escalated as Paula grew older. The signals were no longer concealed by her parents. Her body was clearly bruised, and her condition quickly worsened. She had considerable weight loss, malnourishment, and increased physical abuse. Additionally, Paula's self-esteem was methodically undermined through verbal abuse, according to accounts. Her parents' terrible treatment of their own child was the result of a poisonous mix of cruelty, control, and manipulation. The turning point was when, in an extremely unusual occurrence, a worried neighbor was able to get a sight of Paula outside the house. Paula appeared more like a bruised, frail, and nearly unrecognizable version of the girl she used to be. Law enforcement was notified of the issue, and this neighbor promptly contacted Child Protective Services. There was a horrifying scene when the authorities got to the Salazar residence. Paula was in much worse shape than they had anticipated. She had been neglected for a long time, was covered in scars and bruises, and was seriously emaciated. Despite being arrested on suspicion of child abuse, neglect, and endangerment, Paula's parents had already done irreparable harm to their daughter. The physical and psychological wounds Paula carried with her were evidence of the years of abuse she had endured. Paula's parents had a history of acting violently toward her and other community members, according to the report. By controlling everyone around them and using charm and deceit to hide the abuse, they had been able to hide their activities for a very long time. They had even succeeded in persuading some social workers that Paula's state was not the one in consequence of intentional damage, but rather of illness or accident. However, the truth was eventually revealed, and the case spurred a national dialogue about the atrocities of parental abuse and the shortcomings of the child protective system. The world was in shock at the heinousness of Paula's parents' behavior as the matter proceeded to trial. Heartbreaking testimonies from neighbors, instructors, and even family members who didn't know about the abuse until it was too late flooded the courtroom. Both Paula's mother and father were found guilty on several charges of abuse and neglect, and the father was given a life term for his crimes. Paula's parents' conviction, however, was insufficient to repair the harm. The terror she had experienced had changed her life forever. Paula was placed in foster care following the trial, where she gradually started the protracted healing process. Despite the fact that she continues to battle with the trauma of her past, she has demonstrated remarkable resilience in reconstructing her life after receiving therapy and care. She now speaks out for other abused children, utilizing her personal experience as a potent means of bringing attention to the terrible realities that go unspoken. Paula Salazar's situation serves as a troubling reminder that our parents, whom we trust the most, can also be the ones who hurt us the most. It emphasizes how crucial it is to recognize the warning signs of abuse, particularly in cases involving youngsters who might be too scared or embarrassed to come out. Even in the face of unspeakable cruelty, Paula's story demonstrates the resilience of the human spirit. Her parents may have been able to conceal their sinister secret for many years, but in the end, they were unable to avoid the truth. Finally, Paula received the assistance she so much needed, thanks to the bravery of a worried neighbor and the action of police authorities. This instance serves as a sobering reminder that nobody should ever disregard the warning indications of abuse or neglect. It is an exhortation to communities to remain watchful and to take action when they notice something amiss. It is our common duty to make sure that we take all reasonable precautions to keep vulnerable children safe, because no child should ever have to go through the atrocities that Paula did. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest content. Stay tuned for more exciting videos.